High-functioning anxiety is one of the most misunderstood things people carry because it hides behind results. You show up, you get things done, you look composed. People assume you are fine, or even better than fine, because you are productive, responsible, and reliable. But inside it feels like you are running your life on a quiet emergency mode that never turns off. If you relate to this, you probably do not look like the stereotype of someone who is anxious. You might be the person who answers messages fast, remembers everyone's birthdays, keeps the calendar organized, and still feels guilty. You might be the person who works hard, stays polite, stays sharp, stays helpful, and then collapses at night with a racing mind that will not shut up. People call you driven, they call you disciplined, they call you mature. And sometimes that praise feels like a trap, because it makes it harder to admit that you are struggling. High-functioning anxiety is often built on one core belief that quietly controls everything. If I stop, everything falls apart. That belief creates a life that looks successful from the outside and feels exhausting from the inside. It is like living with an internal stopwatch. You can rest later, you can breathe later, you can feel later, but first, you must earn safety. One of the biggest signs is that you do not just want to do well, you feel like you have to. Your standards are not high, they are rigid. You are not chasing excellence, you are avoiding failure. That difference matters, because excellence can be joyful and failure can be instructive, but avoidance makes everything heavy. Even good things become stressful. A compliment turns into pressure, a promotion turns into fear, a new opportunity turns into a list of ways you could mess it up. You might look confident, but your confidence is fragile because it is rented, not owned. It depends on performance. It depends on approval. It depends on staying useful. And the moment you are not sure you are doing enough, the anxiety spikes. So you learn to ask, am I good enough? Not because you love drama, but because your nervous system learned that being good enough is what keeps you safe. This changes how you work. On the outside, you might be consistent and high achieving. On the inside, work can feel like a constant test of your worth. You over-prepare, not because you are passionate, but because you cannot tolerate uncertainty. You reread emails 3 times. You check details that do not matter. You stay late when you could leave because leaving feels like being irresponsible, even when it is not. You say yes when you want to say no, because you fear being seen as difficult or lazy. You might procrastinate too, but it is not the careless kind. It is perfectionistic procrastination. If it cannot be done perfectly, your brain delays it, and then you end up doing it under pressure. It also changes how you rest. People with high-functioning anxiety often do not know how to truly relax. They can sit down, but they cannot settle. Even in downtime, the mind keeps scanning. What did I forget? Did I upset anyone? Should I be doing something useful? Rest starts to feel like irresponsibility. Quiet starts to feel suspicious. Your body might be on the couch, but your nervous system is still at work. Sleep is a big one. High-functioning anxiety loves the night, because the night is when you stop performing, and the thoughts finally get space. That is why bedtime can feel like a mental interrogation. You replay conversations, you rewrite moments, you imagine worst-case scenarios. Your brain acts like it is protecting you by rehearsing pain, but all it does is keep you on alert. You might fall asleep late, wake up tired, and still push through the day like nothing happened. Then people tell you you are so productive, and you want to laugh because it feels like you are living on fumes. It changes your body too, even if you ignore it. Anxiety does not stay in the mind. It lives in the muscles, the stomach, the jaw, the chest. You might grind your teeth. You might hold your breath without noticing. You might get tension headaches, digestive issues, tight shoulders, random fatigue, or that wired but tired feeling that makes no sense until you realize your body has been bracing for impact for years. High-functioning anxiety also shapes relationships. You might be the friend who always checks in, the partner who notices everything, the family member who keeps everyone together. But the cost is that you become the emotional manager of the room. You monitor tone, you anticipate needs, you smooth over tension, you read between lines. It can look like kindness, and sometimes it is, But it is also control disguised as care. If you can keep people happy, you can avoid conflict, rejection, and abandonment. That is the logic. The problem is that you cannot build real closeness if you are always performing stability. You might struggle to receive. Compliments can feel uncomfortable because you do not trust them. Help can feel threatening because it means you're not handling it alone. You might keep your pain private, not because you have no one, but because you feel like your feelings are inconvenient. You become the person who listens, advises, supports, and stays strong. And then you wonder why you feel lonely, even when you are surrounded by people. High-functioning anxiety often creates a specific kind of people-pleasing. Not the obvious kind where you flatter everyone, but the quiet kind where you shape-shift. You become agreeable, you become easy, you become low maintenance. You become the version of yourself that causes the least friction. And over time, you forget what you actually want, because your default setting is to prevent disappointment. When you live like that, you are not being nice. You are being afraid. And fear is not a stable foundation for relationships. It also changes how you make decisions. High-functioning anxiety hates uncertainty, so you overthink everything. You search for the perfect choice, the perfect timing, the perfect plan. You might ask for opinions, research endlessly, and still feel unsure. Not because you are incapable, but because you are trying to guarantee safety in a world that does not offer guarantees. At some point, overthinking stops being intelligence and starts being avoidance. It is your brain trying to delay the risk of being wrong. It changes how you experience joy. You can have good moments, but there is often a background tension, like you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You might struggle to celebrate wins because your mind immediately moves to the next thing. You finish one task and feel relief for 5 seconds, then panic about what is next. That is not ambition. That is a nervous system that does not know how to feel safe in success. You might even feel guilty when you are happy, like happiness is irresponsible, or like you do not deserve it unless everything is under control. One of the most painful parts is that high-functioning anxiety can become your identity. You become the capable one, the organized one, the reliable one, the strong one. And if you slow down, you worry that you will lose who you are. You might secretly believe that anxiety is the engine behind your success, and that without it, you will become lazy, unmotivated, or irrelevant. That belief keeps you stuck. It turns suffering into a requirement. But let me say something clearly. You do not need anxiety to be successful. You need clarity, skills, support, and self-trust. Anxiety might have pushed you to survive, but it is not the only fuel you have. It is just the fuel you learned to use because it was available. Let's talk about coping, and not the fake kind. Not toxic positivity. Not the manifest your way out of a nervous system pattern. Real coping means you stop treating anxiety like a moral failure and start treating it like a signal. A signal that something in your life or your inner beliefs is demanding constant vigilance. The first step is naming the pattern without romance. High-functioning anxiety is not a personality trait. It is a coping strategy. Usually it develops because at some point in your life, being prepared, perfect, useful, or being quiet helped you avoid pain. That was adaptive then. But if you are an adult now, you are allowed to update the strategy. You are allowed to stop living as if everything is still an emergency. A practical sign you are stuck is that you only feel calm after everything is done, and everything is never done. So you need a different definition of safety. Safety cannot be a finish line. Safety has to be something you practice in the middle of unfinished life. That means learning to tolerate small amounts of discomfort on purpose, not in a dramatic way, but in a deliberate way. You send the email without rereading it 10 times. You leave a task at 95% instead of 100, when the extra 5% is just anxiety. You say, "I will get back to you," instead of answering instantly. You let someone be slightly disappointed without rushing to fix it. These are tiny acts that teach your nervous system a new lesson. The world does not collapse when you stop performing. You also need to work with your body, not just your thoughts. If your body is constantly braced, your mind will keep searching for reasons to justify that tension. So you build physical cues of safety. Slow breathing that actually slows your exhale. Loosening your jaw, dropping your shoulders, eating regular meals. Reducing the constant caffeine spikes if they are feeding the cycle. Moving your body in a way that releases stress instead of punishing you. These are not wellness trends, they are basic nervous system care. Cognitively, you have to challenge the rules that run your life. The rules might sound like this: I must always be productive. I must never mess up. I must keep everyone happy. I must stay in control. I must prove my worth. Notice how none of those rules include being human. A healthier set of rules sounds boring, and that is the point. They can sound like, I can do my best without being perfect. I can be responsible without being exhausted. I can be kind without abandoning myself. I can be uncertain and still be safe. You might also need boundaries, and yes, boundaries will feel rude at first if you are used to earning love through availability. But boundaries are not aggression, they are clarity. High-functioning anxiety often makes you overcommit. So a real coping skill is learning to disappoint people in small ways, so you do not betray yourself in big ways. You do not need to explain every no that you say. You do not need to earn rest with a speech. You do not need to apologize for having limits. You also need a place where you do not have to be impressive. That might be therapy, a trusted friend, or journaling, but you need somewhere to tell the truth without polishing it. High-functioning anxiety thrives in silence because silence lets you keep the image intact. Healing requires exposure, not exposure to a crowd, but exposure to honesty. You practice being seen in small, safe ways. You can be loved for who you are, but not if you never let anyone meet you. High-functioning anxiety changes your life by shrinking it in invisible ways. It makes you productive, but not present. It makes you responsible, but not free. It makes you admired, but not known. And if you keep going the same way, you might wake up one day with a life that looks impressive and feels empty, because you built it around fear instead of values. High-functioning anxiety will try to convince you that slowing down means falling behind. But what if slowing down is how you finally arrive? What if your nervous system has been carrying a job it was never meant to do, and you can gently take that job away? You do not have to become a different person. You do not have to become careless. You do not have to stop caring. You just stop letting fear be the manager of your life. If you are listening to this and you recognize yourself, I want you to hear one final thought. You're not lazy for needing rest. You're not dramatic for feeling overwhelmed. You're not broken because you look fine and feel bad. High-functioning anxiety is real, and it is heavy, and it is treatable. The goal is not to become someone who never feels anxious. The goal is to become someone who does not need anxiety to feel worthy.